Welcome back. My name is Homai. In this video, we are going to go over your D2L homework packet, graded homework number 3. This covers 7th chords and its inversions. All right, so let's do a few of these together. In the first part, identify the quality of each 7th chord. When you're asked to do quality or type, it's referring to whether it's a major 7th, a minor 7th, half diminished 7th, or a fully diminished 7th. So, really simple. Let me just draw a quick chart here. We've already done this several times together, but no harm in giving yourselves a little help. You can do this on your exam, by the way, on some scrap paper. Okay, you're not allowed to come in with it pre-prepared, but you can memorize it and draw it out on your paper so you just have it in front of you as reference. So we have a major 7th, a 7th, a minor 7th, half diminished 7, fully diminished 7, and then we have the 7th and we have the triad. Okay, a major 7, you're going to have a major triad, major 7th, 7th's going to be a major triad, minor 7th, minor 7th's going to be a minor triad, minor 7th, half diminished triad is going to be a diminished 7th, I'm sorry, I shouldn't write 7 here, a diminished triad and a minor 7th, and a fully diminished triad, 7th's going to be a diminished triad, diminished 7th. So that's our little chart. Okay, you can even, I can color it coded here. You know, you're welcome to do that as well, but you might not have that ability. Okay, maybe you color code it like that or something like that. You can do whatever you want. I'll use yellow since I have yellow. Okay. All right, so now all we need to do is to determine the triad and the type of 7th, okay, for each of these. Let's take a look here. So example, whatever this letter is, I don't know. But whatever this example is, let's do it. So we have a triad, F sharp, A, C. F sharp, A, C, if we look at, if we can even draw a keyboard out for ourselves, right? But we count the half steps to figure out what type of triad it is. F sharp, A, C. Well, it's a minor third, minor third. That's a diminished triad. And then we want to look at the 7th. F sharp, E flat. Well, how many half steps is the E flat below F sharp? 1, 2, 3. That's a diminished 7th, actually. Which means we have a diminished triad, diminished 7th. That's this one right here, which means we have a diminished 7th here. Okay? Let's take a look at the next one. Obviously, you can pause the video, you can slow it down, you can rewind it. I'm being thorough, but I'm also moving at a decent pace so this video doesn't end up being an hour and a half long. I understand that it's going to take a lot of you more time than I'm giving in this to determine the types. Okay, so you can pause it, try to solve it yourself, and then watch the video and see if you got it right. I'm only going to be doing a few examples, but you know, hopefully this will help a lot. All right, treble clef. So let's take a look at our triad. D flat, F, A flat, D flat, F, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a major third. A flat, D flat to A flat is a perfect fifth. So that makes this a major triad. Then we have D flat, C natural for the 7th. That's a half step below the octave, so it's a major 7th interval. Major triad, major 7th. Let's look at our chart. Major triad, major 7th. That's a major 7. Okay. Now the goal is to have this chart up here memorized, just to know it. Okay. But it's perfectly fine if you want to draw that chart out for yourself and use that as a reference point to double check yourself, for example. Okay, let's do the next one. Example Q. The triad is E flat, G, B flat, E flat. G is 4 half steps or a major third. E to B flat is a perfect fifth. That's a major triad. The 7th, E flat to D flat. D flat is a whole step below the octave, therefore it's a minor 7th. So we have a major triad, minor 7th. If we look at our chart, major triad, minor 7th, Ah, there we have it. It's just a dominant 7 or just a 7. Okay? So that's how you do the first section. Okay? So it's really helpful to use these videos. If you're watching it, you realize that by now. But these are graded, right? If you get a single thing wrong in any of these examples, you get the whole question wrong. So if you watch these videos, you're going to at least have these 3 right. Okay, so it's going to guarantee you some partial credit. But use the same strategies to determine the others. Let's go on. Write each 7th chord in root position with the correct quality. So root position, which means the root's going to be in the bass, the lowest position, and the quality means the type. Make sure it's major or major minor or a minor 7, that sort of thing. Note that we are in bass clef here, so watch out. Bass clef is in the house. So starting off, I'm just going to write the root. The root is D. And then next I'm going to build my 7th. Line, 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 really easy. Next, I'm going to make sure that my triad is going to fit this. It's a D7. Well, D7, what does that mean? It means I'm going to have a major triad and a minor 7th. So now I just need to change my 3rd, 5th, and 7th such that it reflects the correct quality. All right? So a major triad. Let's make this a major triad. I have a D, F, and A. Well, that doesn't sound major, but let's check. Here's D, 1, 2, 3. That's only 3 half steps. We need 4 half steps to make a major triad here, right? G to A is a perfect 5th, so I need to raise my 3rd a half step. Let's do this in black. So F sharp. Okay. I can check that. Is that a major triad? Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps. 1, 2, 3 half steps. Yes, it's a major triad. Minor 7th. Here's the D octave. Minor 7th, it's going to be a whole step below that, which is C natural. It is a C natural. We can leave it. So that's the first one. Let's do the next one. Again, we are in bass clef. If you're going to get confused, write bass clef right there. In fact, just do it through the whole line. Reduce the chance of a careless error, right? There's so many things to track here. It's so easy to make a careless error. Go ahead, write all over your music. Okay, we need to notate the root. The root is A. Let's build the rest of it. A, C, E, G, and now let's determine. It's a major 7, so that means we need a major triad and, you got it, a major 7th. Major triad, major 7th. So, let's build a major triad starting on A. Here's A. 1, 2, 3, 4, C sharp. 1, 2, 3, E. So A, C sharp, E. I need to make the C a sharp. And then now I need a major 7th. A up an octave, down a half step. That's G sharp. So we need to make the G a sharp. That's the A major 7th chord. Okay, let's do one more. So we'll do half of them for this one, okay, together. Make your life a little easier. Same steps. What's the root? The root is a B. Okay, let's build the rest of it. Line, 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 line. What kind of triad do we need? It's a minor 7th, which means we need a minor triad and a minor 7th. Okay, let's build this up. B, up a minor 3rd, 1, 2, 3. Up a major 3rd, 1, 2, 3, 4. That gives us a minor triad. Minor 3rd, major 3rd. So that's an F sharp. And then we need a minor 7th, B up an octave to B, down a whole step, A natural. It already is that. Okay? So notice how music theory is very cumulative. If you are not strong in intervals, determining your types of thirds and fifths and triads, it's very cumbersome. So go back to the previous videos. Go back to the previous assignments, practice them if you have weaknesses. Strengthen those weaknesses. Turn those weaknesses into foundational strengths of yours. Okay? That is the key to success here. It seems like music theory is becoming more difficult, but it's actually not. We're just synthesizing more and more of your core components. If you have mastery of intervals, triads are easy. If you have mastery of triads, sevenths are easy. Okay? So it's all about building on your foundation. Let's go to the next section now. There's only one more section here, I think. Let me just make sure. Yes, that's another graded assignment. Okay. All right, on this next example, it says identify the following seventh chords with standard chord notation. We are not going to use standard chord notation here. This is kind of a term that was created by more recent music theorists. It's not used in all circles, and certainly we never see this in lead sheet notation, and really don't see this in harmonic analysis either. So we're going to stick with what we actually see. And we won't use Roman numerals because we haven't gone over that yet, but we will use lead sheet symbols, and we will use figured bass. Okay? So write the lead sheet symbol on top, figured bass on the bottom, just like we did on the preparatory homework. So let's walk you through this. What information do they give us? They give us, obviously, the clef. They give us the notes. They give us the key signature. And they also tell us what key we're in. But guess what? We don't need to know this information because we're not using Roman numerals. So just ignore this first piece of information. You can even cross it out. Okay? We don't need to know what key we're in because we're not going to relate anything to the tonic of the key. All right. So what's the first step? The first step is to determine the root. That's step number one. Okay, so we can even write our steps. And this is something you can do. Let's say when you're doing the exam, you can write in the steps that you need to follow and then just follow those steps. Step number one, root. What is the root? Okay, that's the first step. All right, what is our root? Remember our trick? Look for the first note ascending, that's going up. First note ascending, that changes from either a space to a line or a line to a space. Okay, so in this case, space, 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 line, that is our root. So our root is going to be F, and look at the key signature, sharp. That's step number one, determine the root. And we do that simply by reading bottom to the top and finding the note that changes from space to line or a line note to a space note. Step number two, write it in root position. Okay, so we're going to rewrite this chord again, but we're going to move it to root position. This is easy to do. I'm just going to move the root down. So I have F sharp, then A, C, E. Okay, so now I've shifted it into root position. Why did I do this? I did this so that I could actually see the triad in the seventh easily, to analyze it easily, okay? Just to make my life easier. Great. What's the next step? Analyze the triad. What type of triad is it? And also analyze the seventh. Okay, that's the next step. Well, here, what kind of triad do we have? F sharp, A, C. I calculate it, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, that's a minor third and a minor third, that makes a diminished triad. What kind of seventh do I have? F sharp to E is a whole step below the octave, which means we have a minor seventh. So if I have a diminished triad and a minor seventh, I can go back to my chart all the way at the top of the page that I created earlier and see that I have a half diminished seventh. So I'm going to write F sharp, half diminished seventh. Because it's half diminished seventh, I could also write F sharp minor 7, flat 5. Okay, that's also an acceptable response. And then the final step is to determine the inversion, the figured bass symbol. Okay? To determine the figured bass symbol, we're going to look for the second. Where's the second? Well, the second's right here. You can see the second because it's where you have a line note and a space note that are adjacent to each other, that are touching. They're right there. The second's on top. When the second is on top of the chord, it means that we're dealing with a 6/5 figured bass. There's a video detailing this. If you need to review that, definitely check that out. Okay? And we're going to write that for figured bass. So that's the answer for example G. Let's do another one. We can do a bunch of these, since you know, they gave you lots of examples here. Still in bass clef, so don't let that fool you. Okay, first step, let's figure out the root. What's the root? Well, it's in root position because space, 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 space. So the root is the bottom note, which in this case is C sharp. Next step, write it in root position. Well, guess what? That's done for you. It's already in root position. So we don't need to rewrite it. Next step, what is the triad and what is the seventh? Well, let's take a look at the triad first. C sharp, E sharp, G sharp. We have to mind the key signatures. C sharp, E sharp, G sharp. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Major third, minor third, or perfect fifth. That is a major triad. What kind of seventh do we have? C sharp to B is a whole step below the octave, which means it's a minor seventh. So a major triad, minor seventh. Look at your chart if you need to. What is that? It is a dominant seventh, otherwise known as just plain old 7. Boom, just like that. Final step, figured bass. It's in root position. Well, what's the figured bass symbol for root position? 7th chords, just a 7. Let's move along. Okay, step number 1, what is the root? Remember, this is in bass clef. What is the root? Well, let's figure that out. Space, 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 line. Okay, it's a line note. That's a C. Second step, rewrite this in root position. Let's move the root down to the bass. We can keep everything else the same. I'm going to even write in my accidentals here. We have an E flat and a B flat. I'm just taking that from the key signature here. Okay. That way I don't make a mistake. I'm less likely to make a mistake in this next step, where I need to determine the quality of the triad, the quality of the seventh. Quality of the triad. C, E flat, G. Okay, perfect fifth, minor third. That's a minor triad. What kind of seventh do we have? C to B flat. Whole step below the octave, which is a minor seventh. Minor triad, minor seventh makes a, you got it, a minor 7. Okay? Like that. Okay. I left off one step, by the way. In lead sheet notation, we also need to identify the bass note if it's inverted, right? So the bass note, in this case, is going to be E flat. So this is actually C minor 7 over E flat. And in fact, we need to do that for the first example as well. F sharp over the bass note, which is A. F sharp over A. That's a lead sheet symbol. On the second example, we don't need to do that because it's in root position. We don't need to write C sharp 7 over C sharp. That's redundant. So we're going to leave that off. And the final step is the lead sheet symbol. Look for the second. Where's the second? Well, the second is on top. It's on top. Therefore, you're dealing with 6/5. Let's do another one. Just really help you guys along here in case this is confusing. Maybe we'll do 2 more examples together, something like that. Still bass clef. Step number 1, determine the root of the chord. Actually, you know, let's pick one that's not in first inversion. Let's do example K. So many of these are in first inversion. Let's do example K. What's the root of the chord? Line note, space note. It's the space note, okay? If we look at the key signature, that is a flat, so we have an E flat as the root of the chord. What's the next step? We're going to write this in root position. We can just build this here. E flat, G, B flat, D flat. And I'm going to transcribe my key signatures into these cautionary accidentals. We have an E flat, a B flat, and a D flat, G natural. Next, determine the triad. E flat, G, B flat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Major triad. Determine the seventh. E flat, D flat. That's a whole step below the octave. It's a minor seventh, which means we have a plain old E flat 7, but it is inverted, so we need to indicate the bass note. E flat 7 over the bass note, which is B flat. This note right over here. E flat 7 over B flat. And final step, we need the inversion symbol for the figured bass. Where's the second? It's in the middle, right here. When it's in the middle, you're dealing with a 4-3. Okay. Oops. Zoom out a little bit. Let's do one more example together. So hopefully this is making sense to you. Hopefully this is building your confidence in accomplishing this. Let's find one that's in third inversion, not first inversion, second inversion, or root position. And I see there are two examples in third inversion. Let's do example N. We're in treble clef now. Okay, example N. Again, ignore this key signature. We don't, or the key that we're in, we don't need to know about that. Step number 1, determine the root of the chord. Well, we have a line note, space note. The space note is the root. The first one that changes ascending. It's an A flat. Next step, notate it in root position. I like to write in my cautionary accidentals, A flat, E flat, G flat. There is a C natural. Next step, determine the triad. A flat, C, E flat. 1, 2, 3, 4, major third. 1, 2, 3, minor third. That's a major triad. Determine the seventh. A flat, G flat. That's a whole step below the octave, which is a minor seventh. Major triad, minor seventh makes a dominant 7, or just plain old 7. It is inverted, so we need to indicate what the bass note is. That's the lowest note, which in this case is G flat. And lastly, we need to determine the figured bass symbol. Figured bass, look for the second. The second is on the bottom. When the second is on the bottom, this is a 4-2. Okay? So there is our guided tour and walkthrough through this. We did about half the examples, a little less than half the examples. So if you're watching this video, you're guaranteed those to be correct. Okay, so that's positive. And hopefully this also means that you understand it well enough to do the rest of it. Again, feel free to rewind the video, go back to other videos to review the material. If you have any questions, I've gone over every aspect leading to this point in video tutorials now, so feel free to reference those. If you still have questions after checking those videos out, leave me a comment in the comment section, and I will do my best to get around to make you a video explaining, answering that question you might have. I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.